interactive news show. We don't just like to talk at you. We want to hear what you think about things. So join our conversation. We're live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, and use our hashtag 4 to 5 to stay connected. Well, you're keeping a close eye on the Randolph County School Board. The Board of Education is meeting tonight, and they're going to vote on which plan schools will go with for the upcoming school year. That's Plan B or Plan C. Now, the school district's remote instruction guide was laid out before the state's June deadline to turn in plans, but the deadline to actually make a decision is today. They're meeting tonight at 5:30.
Well, it is too hot out there. That is one thing we can all agree on, that's for sure. 94 degrees. Now, I'm going to show you the current temperatures, and then we'll show you the heat index or the feels like readings, because for some folks, it's triple digits. I mean, it is oppressively hot. The actual temperature in Reidsville right now, 97 degrees. Yanceyville, the same reading there, 94 in Greensboro, 93 Winston-Salem. Now, you factor in humidity with the heat, it feels like 100 in Greensboro and Reidsville. Feels like 103 in Burlington and in Siler City. Lexington 100, High Point 95, 99 in Winston-Salem. Even in Mount Airy in the foothills, it still feels like close to 90 degrees. Now, look at the forecast. Tonight, chance of a couple of pop-up showers of thunderstorms. We've got a temperature of 74 for the low, the high tomorrow into the mid-90s. Just a quick look at the radar and the most recent radar image. We do see a severe thunderstorm warning. And by the way, this just updated literally as we were pushing the button until 4:30, and that is in Guilford County. We'll be watching that particular area very closely. It looks like it's in the just to the southeast of Greensboro. That would probably be closer to, say, the Pleasant Garden area and right along Interstate 40. So we'll keep you posted on this throughout the show. These pop-up storms not out of the question into the evening tonight.
All right, let's get you to your 4 to 5 roundup this afternoon. Georgia's Democratic Party has narrowed down the list of candidates to replace late Congressman John Lewis on the November ballot. Lewis died Friday at the age of 80 after a battle with pancreatic cancer. The congressman represented Georgia's 5th district since he was first elected in 1986. The group of 5 top contenders largely represents a younger and more progressive wing of the party. The party has until 4:30 to submit a nominee to the Secretary of State's office. A few Greensboro Symphony Orchestra performances that are scheduled for August and September will now be postponed because of COVID-19. The show's Music of Queen, Pops an Evening with Matthew Morrison, and Masterworks, Tchaikovsky and Beethoven Treasures will be at a later but yet to be determined date. Ticket holders are asked to hold on to those tickets because they will be valid for the rescheduled performances. A number of big box stores are now requiring shoppers to wear masks regardless of whether the state or city has their own mandate. Now, some of those mask mandates started today. You'll now have to wear a mask if you shop at CVS, Kohl's, Lowe's, Petco, Walmart, Sam's Club, and Walgreens. A number of stores already have this policy in place. Others will take effect later this week. By the way, we have a full list of retailers on our website. An online registration is now open for the Fall High Point Furniture Market. The Fall Furniture Showcase will be Tuesday, October 13th through Wednesday, October 21st. It's going to run for 9 days instead of the usual 3, and the Market Authority says the longer event will allow for more social distancing and reduced capacity. The Market Authority will be promoting social distancing throughout the market. They'll also increase cleaning and sanitation, monitor capacity, and check on market staff regularly for COVID-19 symptoms.
Let's take a look at COVID numbers here in the state. North Carolina reached 100,000 coronavirus cases today. Now, nearly 78% of those cases are presumed recoveries, and the number of new cases are down since Saturday. That being said, the state does have more than 101,000 cases since the pandemic started. Again, 78% of those presumed positive. Now, a number of new daily cases are down from Saturday, which saw another record high, and the average percent of positive tests have dropped. The average was below 7% on Sunday, but state health officials want to see the average at 5% or lower. It's hovered between 8 and 10% for the past 2 weeks.
A key in fighting coronavirus is the ability to test and trace people who are positive. Now, in the triad, the capacity to do both has gone up greatly since March, but a nationwide delay in getting test results back makes the health department's job much harder. Now, for some people, it could take 6 to 10 days to find out if you're positive or negative. I spoke to both Guilford and Forsyth County about how that affects their role in keeping our communities safe. Let's start with the numbers. In Guilford County, the health department alone has completed more than 6,000 tests. Right now, 6.67% of them are positive. Next door in Forsyth County, 32,000 people have been tested overall, and currently 11.5% of tests are coming back positive.
That's a big number. So I think that is just indicative of the amount of community spread that there is.
Assistant Director Denise Price says it's a number she'd like to see come down, and one way to do that is through testing.
Testing is important because we have to know who is infected in order to slow the rate of infection with the community.
There have been obstacles along the way since testing began in March, from access to PPE. Now it's taking longer to get those test results back. That means a person could infect more people before they even know they have the virus.
The sooner that folks know what the results are, the sooner they can make sure that they are behaving in such a way as to not infect others, and the community gets healthier.
We have 17 nurses that are doing investigation today.
It's why Susan Hawks and others at the Guilford Health Department are investigating positive cases in the county. Once a lab reports a positive case to them, they reach out to the patient to find out where they may have gotten the virus and who they've been around. Waiting on test results only puts them farther behind.
Well, it does slow down the process because we do not get the lab work until the lab company or the provider sends it to us, and there is a delay. So often when we call the individuals, they are to the end of their isolation.
Hawks and Price both say the best thing people who are waiting on test results can do is stay at home and stay away from others. Assistant Director Price says they've heard from their lab partners that the turnaround time for those test results should get closer to normal this week. But in the meantime, both Forsyth County and Guilford County are offering more testing in the coming weeks. If you're in Forsyth County and you need a test, you can go to the health department's website. They have an interactive map there where you can find a testing site near you. And they're adding new events as the weeks go on, so make sure you're checking back often.
Well, Guilford County health officials are reaching the end of their July coronavirus testing event. So you look at this week, the testing is Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. This is happening at the Griffin Recreation Center. It goes from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. By the way, it's an indoor testing event, so you have to wear your mask when you go. You will be pre-screened before you get an appointment. That's just to make sure you're eligible for the free testing. Walk-ins are welcome, but your wait may be a little bit longer. You can schedule your appointment simply by calling the health department.
A coronavirus vaccine in the works at Oxford University is showing promising results. Now, that vaccine prompted protective immune response in hundreds of those who have participated. Now, that vaccine research started back in April. Out of 1,000 participants, half received the vaccine in early trials. Those early trials are meant to show the safety of a vaccine and see a body's response, but it doesn't show if a vaccine really protects someone from a virus. Well, the researchers say the vaccine produced a dual immune response in people aged 18 to 55 that lasted 2 months after they were vaccinated. Neutralizing antibodies were produced, which help block infection, and the vaccine also caused the body's T cells to react. T cells destroy cells that have been taken over by a virus, so some good news there. Although the vaccine caused minor side effects like fever, chills, and muscle pain.
Tens of thousands of people walked off their jobs in more than 24 U.S. cities today as part of a strike for Black lives. Organizers say groups from labor unions, social and racial justice organizations protested during their lunch breaks or took moments of silence to honor Black lives lost to police violence. The strike for Black lives is meant to serve as an awakening for corporations that some believe are ignoring the concerns of Black employees, like better working conditions, pay, and health care. Meanwhile, civil rights protests in Oregon are getting heated as federal authorities use questionable tactics to handle peaceful protests. The Moms Protest is an effort to de-escalate tensions. You can see dozens of women lined up to form a barrier between demonstrators and law enforcement on Friday. They chanted, "Feds stay clear, moms are here, and leave our kids alone," as they stood in front of demonstrators. Protests have been going on for more than 50 nights since the death of George Floyd. More of the 4 to 5's coming up after the break. Stay with us.
So the nationwide coin shortage caused by the pandemic is not letting up. Now, some of the country's largest retailers are asking you to pay with exact change only. I've seen those signs myself. That includes CVS, Walmart, and Kroger. Some are asking shoppers to let them round up to the nearest dollar. Then those stores are donating that difference to charity.
Trader Joe's is changing the name of some of their products after a petition gained traction asking them to remove racist packaging and branding. Nearly 3,000 people signed a change.org petition calling on Trader Joe's to change the names of international food brands like Trader Giotto's and Trader Jose. The petition says the branding is racist and that it, quote, belies a narrative of exoticism that perpetuates harmful stereotypes. The California-based grocery chain says they were already working on rebranding efforts even before the petition, but the company says to expect that new branding very soon.
Now, I wanted to get your thoughts on this petition and the name change, so I asked for your input on my Facebook page today. Here are a couple of comments left today. Cindy Jones Morgan writes, why? Let things be. And Greg Adam writes, seems like a measured and uncontroversial decision they made to not offend potential customers. It can only be seen as a positive choice. It's not for anyone to dictate what others should be offended by. Now, I see where Greg's coming from. It doesn't seem like that big of a deal, right, guys, to just change a label for some people who may deem it as offensive. And the thing here is Trader Joe's had already been having this conversation internally, right? So now they've decided this is what they're going to do. I don't see anything wrong really one way or the other. Personally, I thought it was just, it was going with the country that it's from. However Joe is said in that country, that's what it was.
Interesting. Yeah, and Trader Joe's says they've actually been working on this rebranding for a couple of years now, but it's just now coming to light. And then the petition really brought it to the attention of more people. I think anytime that a nationality or an ethnicity is formed as a caricature, it can be a little bit risky, and it seems as maybe this branding in some people's eyes was doing that, just taking some of the most prominent features or customs of a place or a country and highlighting that instead of really rounding out the entire country as a whole.
And I think it sounds like they were having this conversation, obviously, for a long time. It was something they wanted to do, and they would take on the cost, because I guess one of the things that pops into my mind from a business standpoint, how much does it cost them to do this? And they've already been talking about this. So apparently it's not that big of a deal. It was something they thought that they felt responsible to do and to play their part and to being inclusive, and more power to them. I think that's good stuff.
You bring up a good point. It would be interesting to see how much they're paying to switch all of those products. Hey, let us know what your thoughts are on this petition, and should other places follow suit, perhaps? You can join our conversation. Just use our hashtag 4to5.
You know, we live in a time when diversity and inclusion are front and center, but one Greensboro organization, they've been working on a program for decades. It's an incredibly successful program that has already been addressing this for years. Here's part of my conversation with Joyce Gorham-Worlsley from the Greensboro Chamber of Commerce. Joyce, this is such a cool program, and I think one of the things that struck me was that it is about inclusion and diversity and tolerance, but it's been around a long time before the recent surge in that topic. Can we talk a little bit about the history of it?
Yes. So Other Voices is a diversity leadership program that's an initiative of the Greensboro Chamber, and we've been around 28 plus years. Way back when the late Mayor Nussbaum saw that we had a lot of unrest.
So over the years, how would you say it's evolved?
We cover all the isms. First, let me say that. We cover the isms that exist in our society, and we look to talk about those things so that we can get along better as a community.
When people finish this, and by the way, how long is the process? But when people finish it, what do they come away with, would you say?
Well, what we're hoping happens is that we walk away as allies. And so that means if you see that someone in your work environment, in your home environment, in your civic environment, if you said that we have those folk who have struggles, that we will be their ally. But what we're also looking for is that folk walk away with a better understanding of folk who are not like them, or who they perceive opposite from them.
It's interesting. It's almost like you're helping to turn out leaders that can pass that culture down through the workforce.
Absolutely, absolutely. We like to think that we cover all sectors of especially our business community. But yeah, when you walk away from this program, it's life-changing. We've heard that a lot from participants, that it's life-changing, or I didn't realize that this was happening, or this was the perspective that a person is coming from. So these leaders then go back into their workplace and make their workplace a better place to work, and our community a better place to live.
I love that. Thank you so much for your time today, Joyce. Best of luck. This program sounds awesome.
You're welcome.
And if you need more information on that, you can go to WFNYnews2.com. I'll get that posted right after the show here. It's a great program. They've been doing it a long time. It is, time intensive. You're due a full day, like a 9-to-5 day, 1 day a month for 8 months. So it's pretty big deal. And they've been doing it for decades.
Yeah, I've heard you talk about this program before, Eric, and just how life-changing it can be for participants. I think one thing she said that really stuck out to me was many participants say, I didn't realize that this was happening, or I didn't realize that I thought that way. So this is opening their eyes up to more than just their small circle or their community.
And I love when you do these stories like this, Eric, just highlighting things in the community that people may not realize is there at their disposal. You know, this program has been here for a number of years. Of course, now is a more relevant time than any to participate in a program like this. And I think the trickle-down effect is something that's really great, because if there's a manager that goes through this program, right, they're now giving all of the tools that they learned in that program and passing it down to their employees.
All right, well, more of the 4 to 5 is coming up right after this break. Of course, we are live during the breaks as well. You can chat with me, Tahisha, and Eric. Just use our hashtag 4 to 5. We'll see you there.
All right, so this is a story you guys can't stop clicking on. A Kentucky couple is now under house arrest for refusing to sign a self-isolation order. Now, Elizabeth Linscott says that she tested positive for coronavirus, and the health department emailed her the next day telling her that she needed to check in daily with them, also had to self-isolate and inform the department if she went to the hospital. Now, the form states that the order is to prevent the spread of the virus. Linscott says she declined because a section of the order says she will not use public travel, such as a bus or taxi, without the health department's approval first. Now, she says she couldn't wait for approval if there was an emergency or if her child needed something, so she said she's not signing. Now, the couple was placed on house arrest shortly after that. The local health department did not provide comment.
We need to check the radar because that's kind of what's been active so far this afternoon. Anytime we see temperatures in these low to mid 90s across the area, feels like index up to triple digits for a lot of folks. You can expect a couple of scattered thunderstorms. A lot of this is in the western half of the viewing area. So if we zoom in and check the most recent watches and warnings, the one in Guilford County, by the way, expired early. Now we're looking at this severe thunderstorm warning for Alexander, Davie, and Iredell. That system is drifting south and east. So I would say Moxville and Davie County in line for this. Salisbury would be as well. And then next up, if it holds together that long, and these usually come and go pretty quickly, but if you're in Davidson County within the hour, just keep an eye out just in case. If you're in Davie County around Moxville in that area, you've got probably another 20 minutes or so before that's going to be over your neck of the woods too. And again, a lot of this has been widely scattered and mostly in the western parts of the viewing area. High pressure will keep us hot, hazy, and humid over the next few days. We'll have our 7-day forecast for you coming up in just a bit, but you can bet 90s and late day thunderstorms will be on tap for the rest of the week. We'll be back.
Welcome back to your 4 to 5. I'm Maddie Gardner. Eric Chilton and Tahasia Moyes are also with us this afternoon. Remember, this is an interactive news show, so right now we are live on Facebook and YouTube, and you can join our conversations. Just use the hashtag 4 to 5 to stay connected. Well, we will begin this half hour by taking a look at your 4 to 5 roundup. UNCG's Moss Street Partnership School will operate on both Plan B and C this fall. That means starting on August 17th, kindergarten through 5th graders will be virtual. Then after that, they'll be split into two cohorts, I should say. Now, Cohort A will attend school in person on Mondays and Tuesdays, and then Cohort B will attend school in person on Thursdays and Fridays. Wednesdays will be remote learning day for both groups. As for UNCG college students, the university plans to open campus in the fall with new cleaning protocols and more social distancing. Students will also be required to wear a mask. More than 20 people were arrested over the weekend accused of vandalizing the former Durham Police headquarters. Police say windows were broken and banners were hung from the roof. The banners read "Abolish and Reclaim." Police say the words "No Cop Zone" were also spray painted on the building. There's also damage inside, including spray painted graffiti. The state of Florida is dealing with a shortage of intensive care unit beds. As of Sunday, at least 45 hospitals in the state had no available beds. And overall, only 19% of ICU beds are free. The state is now the new epicenter of the coronavirus pandemic in the United States. The number of new coronavirus cases in Florida topped 10,000 for the 5th day in a row. Florida's Department of Health says there are nearly 21,000 people hospitalized throughout the state. And due to COVID-19, the Winston-Salem Rescue Mission is not accepting volunteers on campus, but there are ways to get involved from home. The mission says you can host a towel, linen, or toiletry drive to benefit residents. You could also assemble goodie bags, host a food drive, or assemble to-go meals to give out to the homeless.
If you want to take a trip to the most magical place on earth, Walt Disney World, there are some things that you have to keep in mind before you go. And yes, Walt Disney World is open in the middle of a pandemic. So there is a new reservation system that helps the park manage how many people can visit at one time. So if you want to make a reservation, you'll have to set it up in your My Disney Experience account and then purchase tickets. You'll have to wear a face covering, and public transportation will limit the number of passengers on board to practice social distancing. Guests will have to take their temperatures before entering the parks, and you'll see that the locations will have physical barriers, ground markers, and cues to enforce social distancing. Now, these changes also apply to dining, including lower use of physical menus and self-serve locations.
Speaking of travel, American tourists are temporarily not allowed to enter the Bahamas. The Prime Minister says the islands have seen 49 new coronavirus cases since they reopened their borders on July 1st. The total number of cases there stands at 153. The country's national airline is ending flights to the U.S. immediately, and then starting Wednesday, international flights and commercial vessels carrying passengers will not be allowed to enter borders. Outgoing commercial flights will be allowed. The only exception is commercial flights from Canada, the United Kingdom, and the European Union. Private yachts and flights are still allowed to enter the country, but public and private beaches are now under a nightly curfew.
Hey, and speaking of flights, if you want to take a flight with Delta, but you don't have to wear a mask, or you don't want to wear a mask, I should say, the company does have a solution for you. Delta is now launching a flight screening process that started today. So you'll have to have medical clearance from not a doctor, but Delta staff. The company says the screenings include a private virtual consultation over the phone to decide if you can fly or not. Now, we're talking about here people who have medical exemptions, and so they can talk with the representative that way to clarify.
People in Greece can now be fined if they don't wear a face covering at the supermarket. Greek authorities announced the mandatory use of masks in supermarkets for both employees and customers. A fine will cost 150 euros or about $171 US for every violation. Officials say nearly half of new cases this month in Greece were from travelers. So I ask you on my Facebook page, should people face fines for not wearing a mask in public? Let's take a look at what you had to say. Greg Klein said, I think the only way to stop the spread of COVID-19 is to require strict guidelines and back it up by laws enforcing masks. Scott Ray says, no, it's still a free country, but I do wear a mask where it's required out of curiosity. Eric Ayers said, yes, we're fine for not wearing seatbelts. It's the same principle. Lisa Pine says, yes, wear your mask to help all. It's for public health. This virus is so new, there hasn't been enough research. Care about others, wear the mask. Barbara Nelson Goff said, I believe that no one should have the right to infect others. I believe they should be fined. Paula Claudette says, no, I'm not wearing a mask. Jeanette Marion Wilcox says, I'm not sure, but wear a mask. Jordan Watkins, absolutely not. And Leah Slaughter-Nope says, free country, and you don't know if someone has a medical condition to where they can't wear a mask. I think people just need to mind their own business. So it's interesting because we hear from the top doctor at the CDC who's saying if we wear a mask, all of us, for 6 to 8 weeks, this virus will be out of here. But the thought of fining people for it might be a little too much to understand. I think, a lot of these places have requirements already in place where you're not allowed to come in if you're not wearing a mask, but there's really no enforcement of it.
Yeah, and then there was one thing that was talking about it's not any of their business, right? People can just mind their own business if they don't wear a mask, that last comment. But here's the thing, when you aren't wearing a mask, it's no longer just your own business, right? Because you are affecting the health of everyone around you. We are in a public health crisis, which means the world doesn't revolve around you. I feel that some fines would definitely make it more I guess enforceable, right? Because people are going to try to do something if it affects their wallet.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think you definitely slap someone with a fine, they'll listen up a little bit more.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Maddie. I'm not sure how you would enforce that, but my issue still goes back to Tahisha's exactly right. It is not about the individual. It's about everybody. And if you don't believe that, go back and look at the My 2 cents I did on that one family reunion in Catawba County, and how that chain reaction can happen when you get a group of 50 or more together. So think about other people. And, like you said, 6 to 8 weeks, if we could do that and get rid of all this, we'd be in pretty good shape. That's for sure. All right, let's show you something else here. I thought this was pretty crazy. Get this. Australia's New South Wales state is banning dancing and singing at big events here. The ban is in reaction to the neighboring state, which is Victoria. They had an increase in the coronavirus cases there. Victoria enacted a second partial lockdown for nearly 5 million people. New South Wales leaders say the new restrictions will start for indoor venues, weddings, and funerals, where they will ban dancing and singing. And I guess the thing here is that when you dance or you sing, you're exhaling and you're breathing more rapidly. I guess it's sort of like the workout type situation, but it just sounds funny to hear that they're banning and singing and dancing. It's like Footloose come to life here.
Exactly what I said this morning, Eric. I said we have a real life Footloose on our hands, folks, in Australia. Yeah, so when you sing, those particles, those droplets fly out of your mouth a little bit easier. I know that's really nasty to think about, but it's true. It happens. And then I'm sure if you're dancing, you're also maybe flying around, depending on your dance moves. If you're doing the floss like Eric, less particles.
Well, here's the thing.
Fewer particles.
Here's the thing. No one is going to stop me from dancing. No, no, no. I will always dance, and I will always do my TikTok dances in my living room. However, if I were in a place where they asked me not to dance in public, I would swallow my pride and I would do it for the greater good. But it is interesting when you take them apart, right? The singing and the dancing, it makes sense because of, we've seen churches not ask people to sing in the choir, gyms not being open because of it. But then you put it together and it's like, whoa, 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 what's happening here?
I like your choice of words, Tahisha, because for me not dancing is always for the greater good. Pandemic or not. Here's what we're talking about with our satellite and radar combination. See, Tahisha knows. like, yeah, thank you, children, don't dance. Satellite and radar. You can see a lot of stuff popping back to the west. Will that be moving across the area? The answer is yes, but the question is how long will it hold together? Because now we're losing that heating of the day little by little. That takes some of the energy away for these storms. But we do have this severe thunderstorm warning, and that's for Alexander, Davie, and Iredell. So that will be moving into, say, the Moxville area, I would think, in the next few minutes. We do see some lightning strikes in this. I've seen worse thunderstorms, but still that warning does exist, and you could see that. We run that risk anywhere along that line. You notice it's all drifting down to the south and east. So I would say Davidson County, just kind of keep an eye out in case you're in that mix as the day goes on, or evening goes on, I should say. And over the next few days, we don't see a lot of change. I'll skip to our 7-day because I want to show you quickly. It's a 50-50 shot of rain each afternoon and evening today through generally Friday, and then it drops to a more normal 30 to 40%. But mid-90s tomorrow, low 90s for the rest of our 7-day forecast. That is a lot of stuff going on weather-wise. All right, Tech Geeks on the go. I have a must-have item for your summer outings here. So it's a device that has a lot of energy to it, a lot of power to keep charging your devices while you're out and about and running around. I put it to the test, and here's what we found out.
So I'm always on the go, taking devices with me, whether it's a laptop or a tablet or a cell phone, sometimes multiple cell phones. I gotta have power to go, right? This is the Power Bar by Eggtronic. I want you to take a look at this thing. Great design, first of all, pretty sleek. I know it looks kind of big, it is kind of a power brick, but for what it does, we can let that slide because I'm telling you, it really, really does the job. Couple of things here, 2 charging points that are right on the top, right? So you see these 2 markings here. Each one of those is for you to wirelessly place your phone on there and start charging your cell phone, and it pretty much does it automatically as long as you have it turned on the end. You can charge 2 phones, right? One here, one there. And then if you're wondering what this strange little thing on the end was, and I was too, that is actually a place for you to charge your Apple Watches. So it actually just pulls up and you can put the Apple Watch right on there. Now, with my cell phone, it took about an hour to charge, but I did that multiple times in one day because this thing holds a lot of energy. And the other cool thing are the cables. I want to show you, it comes with a cable here. This is a USB-C to USB-C. So this plugs into the Power Bar, and then some laptops have USB-C ports. You could charge your laptop. Now there are lots of variables with this. How old is your laptop? Some USB-C ports on laptops do not allow a charge to come back in, so you'd have to check that. But it did charge my laptop in about the same amount of time that it takes me normally when I charge it by plugging it into the wall, which is pretty impressive if you're on the go. And then the other one is USB-C to Lightning port. The Lightning port, of course, is all the Apple products have this now, so anything with that Lightning port you could charge. And keep in mind, this is possible to do multiple, so you could plug a device into this with the cable and still use all the wireless here. For the amount of power that you get for this Power Bar, it is definitely worth it. And again, it's Power Bar by Eggtronic. I have to give this one a big thumbs up. I've used it. Now I'm going to have to buy the thing. It's too valuable.
So I will tell you again, it's the Power Bar by Eggtronic, like an egg that you eat, Eggtronic. Not super cheap, $150, but I got to tell you, for the type of power that it holds, if you really are on the go that much, it can be a lifesaver. I've got information for this. It'll be online in just a minute at WFMYnews2.com. Look for this story. We're coming back.
Mic check, whatever. Can you hear me? Whatever. Cool beans.
Republican Congress members met with President Trump today discussing the possibility of a second coronavirus stimulus package. Now, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell introduced a $1 trillion package, but Republicans have rejected parts of the proposal. The administration wants to cut $25 billion in funding for testing and tracing from the proposal. Now, there's also a second round of stimulus checks that would be included in that proposal, although this time around it would only send checks to people making $40,000 or less per year. So we asked you on our Facebook page, what do you think about the possibility of a second stimulus check, and do you think it should go out until the pandemic ends? Jalen Gilkey has been taking a look at the comments for us. Jalen, what do the people want?
Yeah, Tahisha, as you can imagine, the overwhelming majority of people are saying yes, they should send out the second check. Our first comment comes from Boomer. He says, only to those who are currently laid off. Our next comment comes from Danielle. She says, I would like to get mine from the first round. Amy says, no, she doesn't think people should get another check. Grace says, well, as long as everyone that's eligible gets theirs, I didn't get my first one. Brenda says, yes, the people need the money. Vicky says, yes, she's in agreement as well. And lastly, Tammy says, my daughter is waiting on her first one. Can anyone please give me a number or something she can call to see where it is? And Tammy, tell your daughter to go to irs.gov. That's where she can put in her personal information and they can track her stimulus check in the first one.
All right, Jalen, thank you. Well, this year's vacation, it might not have turned out the way you'd hoped. It might not have turned out at all. So what do? Well, you look forward to next year, right? We're always saying on the positive side. A travel firm called Kuoni shows global Google searches for 2021 holidays. That's jumped 124% since March. Now, the most Googled search was the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Canada, and the U.S. all tied for second place. Egypt rounded out the top 5 for those Google searches. People are clearly already thinking about next year's vacation plans, and I am among the people who are certainly trying to plan for 2021.
I am too. I am right there with you. I have already thought about it and thought about it and thought about it because now it's just I'm ready to roll. All right. So I asked everybody on Facebook, what are you doing? What is your 2021 vacation? What does it look like? Here's what you had to say. Kathy Greer will start things out with her. She said, hopefully, and listen, there's big plans here. South Korea and Cambodia. She says, I have American family in each place and would like to experience the culture, food, and have big hugs for my family living there. Good for you. I hope that can happen. Dolores Jones says, hopefully a cruise in May of 2021 on the new Mardi Gras ship. MD Moore says, well, it depends on what my lottery winnings look like. I feel you. Beverly Hoover says, all out everywhere I want to go. North Carolina beaches, mountains, and maybe even Washington, D.C. to the museums there. Diane Church, though, she says, playing it safe. Same as this year. Absolutely nothing. But I get you on all accounts. Everybody's up to their own opinion. I just hope that things are at a point where we can if we want to.
I don't even care about going on vacation. I just want to go out to a restaurant and not think about this virus. Like, I just want to go out and live a normal life and be around friends and not have to worry about where everyone's been and if they've been wearing their mask and if they've been washing their hands. But if vacation does happen next year, I will say I've been learning French during quarantine, just a little bit. And so I would like to go to Paris again, maybe. Tahisha, you coming with me?
Bonjour, si, I'm coming.
It's we.
My plan. Oui. See, this is where it happens. I was taking Spanish classes. You're taking French classes. I'm taking Spanish. Okay, so let's just do that. I would like to go back to Spain, though, and actually practice the Spanish that I've been learning in my class. But Italy will always be the #1 country I want to visit and go back to. I have cities on my list. Hoping in 2021 Americans will be allowed.
We will see if we make it. All right, more in the 4 to 5s coming up after this. Stick around.
Yes. Yes, I can. All right, what am I talking about today? Oh yeah, how to get kids reacclimated to the schools and with their friends.
Welcome back to your 4 to 5. It appears that kids are going to have a combination of both online learning and in-person learning this fall, but with all the fear about getting too close to other people and the virus, kids may not be sure of how to approach classmates or if they even should. And that's why Blanca Cobb and I are talking today ways parents can help their kids get readjusted to social interactions before school starts. So Blanca, let's jump right in. How can parents start this process of getting their kids used to being around other people?
One way is to start is by having your child start to learn what 6 feet looks like, because a lot of children don't have a good idea. So let me share a suggestion. You can have a measuring tape and mark the start point, go 6 feet and put another mark. And you do that in different places of the house. And then you can have your child walk from the start to the finish and count how many steps it takes him or her to get to that 6 feet. So whatever that number is, I'm going to make it up. I'm going to say 10. Then they know they have to say 10 steps away from a friend at school. You can't do this once. You're going to have to do it repeatedly in different settings. So do it in the living room, do it outside, do it in their bedroom. They just need to get used to starting to gauge what 6 feet looks like.
That's a really good point, putting it in terms that they can more easily understand. Blanca, another point that everyone's talking about is getting kids to wear a mask. How can parents start getting them adjusted to have a face covering on and then interacting with their peers?
Well, I'm going to grab a face mask right now and put it on. You want to have conversations with your kids, but have them try it at home. This is a very thin mask, so you can hear me well. Depending on the fabric and how thick it is, the voice can be muffled. This is really important, not only for listening, but for talking. They need to know how high that pitch needs to be in order for their voice to project 6 feet. Likewise, when they're listening to somebody, and if they can't hear, then you have to encourage your kids to say, all right, tell them to repeat themselves because you can't hear them. And we're talking about the younger kids, so it requires a lot of practice.
Yeah. Blanca, thank you so much. You can continue the conversation with Blanca on her Facebook page, Blanca Cobb, body language expert, including how body language plays a role during mask-wearing social interactions. We'll be back.
Hello, mic check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
There you go. Mic check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Sorry, I was looking at something on the computer and did not realize that I was leaned over into the screen. Sure.
Hi there, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. After that, the district will decide whether or not to allow students back in the classroom. I'm looking at it right now. Thank you. Randolph County and Stokes County will be meeting.
time for my 2 cents. This weekend, I had the opportunity to catch up with some of my closest friends. We laughed, we cried, we shared secrets, we made new memories. And it really got me thinking about the importance of friendship and how that's changed a bit in the era of COVID-19. First off, friendship to me just seems more important now than ever before. We're all collectively living through uncharted and stressful times, and this is when you need people to lean on. And showing up matters whether or not you live in the same city or state as your friends. In a normal world, you would be able to hop on a plane and see your friends no problem, but because of COVID, that may not be a reality. But you can still show up. When a friend has a birthday, you can send a gift or give them a call and sing them the best birthday song you can muster. If a friend is going through a life change, you can reach out and listen to their concerns. Listening to not only what your friends say, but how they say it. Yes, friendship looks a bit different these days, but it's still all about connecting and putting in the work it takes to foster that relationship. Form your own opinion. That's just my 2 cents. That's your 4 to 5. WFMY News 2 at 5 starts right now. The countdown to the school year is on, and because of coronavirus, Guilford County parents now have the option to keep their kids in all virtual schools.
And that means 5 days a week learning from home as part of the district's newly approved virtual